What's up? Welcome back to my channel, or for the first time if you're new, I'm Sylvan, and today I'm going to be reacting to Apothecary Diaries Season 2, Episodes 11 and 12. We're nearly caught up, gonna keep powering forward. I've been really enjoying the series. The last two episodes, in very different ways, were very enjoyable. But to not delay any further, feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, leave a comment on your thoughts, and let's get into this. As per usual, the opening. I'm very curious to see if we're going to follow up on anything that was covered in the last two episodes, or if the last episode sort of served as a palate cleanser, clean slate to go forward into whatever we're doing next. I honestly could see either way, because though last episode was largely disconnected from anything else that was going on, maybe it'll be relevant going forward, and it did have stuff about the former emperor in there, so it did tie into what the previous episodes were about. I'm just curious to see if we're sort of clean slate or not. I also think at this point we know just about everything in the opening, so this is like the last chance to actually have anything from the opening be relevant again, because I think next video, which will be for 13 and 14, I think they'll have a new opening. This is the second to last time I'm seeing this, I guess. Apologies if I'm a little sniffly. Allergies are attacking me a little. Alright. Some rice or something? A meal? Jinshi was very serious last time. Oh, it's about this? Okay, everyone's statements about his relationship with Maomao, and Maomao's position are getting to him, I guess? Oh, a plan. Okay. Ah, the truth finally comes out? Okay. I'm very curious to see how Maomao is going to react. I feel like it's either going to be a total non-reaction or a extreme overreaction. Of course. Yeah, I guess. Oh, okay. Ah, a hunting trip. Someone you can't turn down? Hmm. Oh my god. The possessiveness. Oh my god. Wow, I never fully realized that. I guess he really does just say that girl or you. Oh my god. Alright, so a hunting trip. Curious to see what this is about. Makes sense with the name of the episode. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. Interesting lore. All right. She's actually getting a history lesson. All right. Yeah. So he controls the northern land. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It's a little more complicated than that. Ooh, it's really interesting going to a different location. Because this is like the only time we've gone anywhere that isn't the rear palace, the inner court, or the pleasure district. I guess red light district or whatever. Okay. This is a big move, all things considered, from a storytelling standpoint. What's wrong, Jinshi? Ah, God. Hmm. Hmm. Are you gonna tell her? Hee-hoo, hee-hoo. Okay. Definitely not just a good family. Really doesn't want to tell her, huh? First time he's learning that she's not in the know? God. All right. Seems like a pretty big event, all things considered. Oh, they just have like a block of ice for cooling? Okay. Hmm. What? Oh no! Oh no. Very nice. Yeah. Okay. Ideally. Ooh, cloaked figures in the night? With a gun? Oh boy, assassination attempt? That's what it sounds like to me. Oh boy. I honestly didn't realize that guns were around at this point, but I guess it makes sense timing wise for like history. That could be dangerous, but maybe she'll discover what's going on. Oh boy. Don't. Oh. Okay, he's here. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, he's doing rather well for himself. Ooh. Okay, well trained dog. Yeah, he is a bit of a dog. Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Yep. Yes, he is. Huh. Okay. Something wrong? What is she doing? Going to the waterfall? No, okay, just finding Jinshi. Alright. At the waterfall. Good for sound purposes. Nobody will be able to hear them unless they're nearby. Yeah. Choosing now to tell her. Okay, something's gonna cut this off. Whoa! Oh, fuck. Okay, they missed. This is way more intense than I ever expected to happen. Yo, did he just... He jumped off of the waterfall? That is insane! Yeah, reasonably speaking. What the fuck? Okay. Immediately to mouth-to-mouth CPR, I guess? Yeah. Jesus. Wow. Yeah, you jumped off of a fucking cliff. Yeah. God. Wow. Her clothes are wet. Alright, we're gonna have one of these moments then. Alright. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good thing. I wonder why. It's almost as if someone tried to assassinate him. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Yeah. 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 If the hunt had already happened and that was the case. Oh? God. God. I'm I'm honestly loving the vibe of this, because as per usual, Maomao is not the flustered one in any way. Okay, yeah, so guns are a like device that exists, but it's not common by any means. Makes sense. Yep. Based on his true identity. Quite a few people, probably. Deep cave. Hmm. Okay. So are they just stuck in this hole until someone finds them? Unless they swim out? It might be the assailants. Oh, the dog setup. Yeah, that would not be allowed. Oh my god. Yeah, okay. God, compared to her, his shoulders are way wider than I actually realized. A frog? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Are they alright? Oh. Oh my god! They're really pulling all the stops out here. Oh my god, his arms are around her. Jesus Christ. Okay, what's gonna happen here? Oh, he pulls her close? Okay, he has a pretty blank expression. What is he thinking? That's where they end the episode. Well, fuck, okay. That kind of cliffhanger makes me want to go straight to the next episode, but I will at least spend a little bit of time talking about what the hell was going on in this episode. Okay, so to be fast about the analysis of this episode, because clearly this is more so a part 1 to a 2-parter, maybe even 3-parter, who knows, this sort of hunting trip arc, which, as I've been guessing, being sort of the end of the current cour, is seemingly going to have a pretty big status quo change if Jinshi actually goes through with revealing his identity to Maomao. Throughout the episode, from the very beginning, we have this ongoing question of when Jinshi will reveal his identity. It's been a question for a long while, and it was more actively brought up recently, but this episode has, at the core of its narrative, that question. Because as is discussed at the start of the episode, there's no real way that they leave this scenario without Maomao learning, to some extent at least, who he is, so he might as well just tell her at some point. But we see that for whatever reason, he is very reluctant to throughout the episode. He has opportunities to, but chooses not to, or gets cut off when he builds up the courage. The only reason I can imagine why he would be concerned about it is that it will change their relationship once she knows who he is. It makes plenty of sense, honestly, given that Maomao is a person very particular about status and class and that kind of thing, in the sense that she tries to be very careful around people who are capable of getting her, like, beheaded or things like that. She does not want to rock the boat ever, and that extends to being careful around incredibly powerful people like the Emperor. So I could see Jinshi being worried that if she learned he is part of the royal family, then that would result in her becoming more closed off and distant because she's trying to be careful around him. But regardless, it leads to just a continuous, interesting narrative question filling this entire episode and potentially 2-parter. There's a lot of fun moments in this episode, but a lot of it is just to emphasize how actually important Jinshi is as a person, and Maomao beginning to pick up on that. She never goes far enough to piece together truly how important he is, but she does constantly have to face the fact that he is the most important person invited to this hunting trip. Narratively, though, another major piece of this episode that I called out during the reaction is that, as far as I can think of, this is the first time that Maomao and Jinshi in the narrative have actually left the, like, 3 main locales that the entire story takes place in. Those are some pretty big locales, they're entire environments, but this is the first time we've truly gone beyond them, which does open the door for that continuing to happen in the future, especially with if Maomao learns of Jinshi's identity and now effectively is serving in a more direct, subservient position to essentially a member of the royal family and is recognized as that by both herself and Jinshi and those around her, it could mean following him around on bigger political things. I don't necessarily know if that's the angle the story will go, as so much of what the basis of the story and our cast is all focused in on the rear palace and the surrounding inner court, but it is possible. Our core cast can realistically travel around with Jinshi. But then, really the only other things to acknowledge here is the overall murder plot against Jinshi. We have a group of cloaked figures in the woods with guns, at least 2, as is figured out later in the episode, that are actively plotting the death of Jinshi and attempt it in this episode, though luckily fail. Due to the good old inaccuracy of old-time guns, also potentially a lack of experience with them, because it seems like they aren't necessarily super familiar with guns themselves, they just are using it as a tool that is very powerful and new and modern, that kind of thing. But either way, there appears to be at least 5 of them, based on one of the establishing shots we get of them. So it is possible all of them have guns, but at the very least they have 2 guns and there are 5 people. And when the actual attempt on their life happens, we only see 3 of them. So there are 2 people unaccounted for, which is interesting. I'd be curious to see where they are currently. But when their initial attempt fails, they assume that Jinshi would not have been able to survive the fall, so they don't choose to immediately go after him, rather prioritizing hiding the guns, which they call feifas. I'd be curious to learn how historically accurate that term is. Is that actually what early guns in China were called, or is that more of an invention of the show? I could see it being very much real, but I just don't know. But while talking about this assassination plot, the question that it brings for me is, are these individuals attempting this that are disconnected from this entire hunting trip, or is this a grander plot connected to the reason Jinshi was invited out here? Because I very much could see a much deeper plan being in place, where potentially someone who organized this event, or at the very least someone involved in the event, whether that is Master Shisho, who is the ruler of this area, or someone beneath him who is responsible for it, I would not be surprised if someone within the organization and planning of this event is using the fact that Jinshi would be careful around the food and likely therefore be unhealthy and weak and end up dizzy due to the heat and stuff, so that when he takes a step away at one point, use that as the opportunity. I very much could see that as the more comprehensive plan. Otherwise, it is possible that the assassins were just hiding in the woods waiting for any opportunity, but that seems fairly poorly planned, so I feel like it has to be bigger than that. Beyond that, though, other than the wild scenario that we were left on, where they are stuck in a cave, Jinshi holding Maomao close in his arms as Maomao is on top of him, which is insane for a cliffhanger. The last thing I want to call out is a largely innocuous scene that likely has some fairly important relevance to next episode and how they get out of this scenario, being Maomao and Li Haku's brief conversation in the woods, which, though on the surface it literally is just establishing that Li Haku is here, I think the more important aspect is that there is a dog that is well trained and can, from a far distance, potentially hear a whistle. I have a feeling that what Maomao was doing when Maomao and Jinshi were trying to figure out if they could get anyone's attention, I have a feeling what she was doing is trying to contact the dog, which will presumably mean the way they get out of this hole after whatever happens next is probably the dog leads Li Haku to the cave where he then gets them out. But with that, I know this was a quicker analysis, but given that this is sort of the first part to a 2-parter, it seems, with that cliffhanger especially, I really do want to just sort of get into the next episode. Then I can potentially cover things more thoroughly once we have the entire encompassing plot. So let's move on to the next episode. All right, time for episode 12. I'm very excited to get into this, so I'm just going to go straight in. how much is going to develop in this cave. I feel like it's a perfect opportunity for him to reveal his true identity. Oh, the hole! Okay. Yeah, that was one of the last things in the opening we hadn't seen yet, I guess. But I feel like him revealing his true identity is inevitable, whether or not it happens in the hole or once they get out. But if their actual relationship moves forward in any way is another question. The story is enough of a slow burn on the romance side that I sort of doubt that they'd officially become any kind of, like, couple, or Maomao becoming even just like a concubine or something of him. But I don't know. It's always possible. Or at the very least, I feel like the more realistic possibility, if the romance side really does move forward here, is just that Jinshi and Maomao, or at the very least Jinshi, because Maomao is Maomao, recognize their feelings more openly. I feel like that is more likely than anything. Even if their official relationship does not change. But let's see. Do we pick up? Okay, we return to the party. Okay. Okay, some people are joking. It's been 2 hours since he was gone. Okay. Okay, people are on the search. That's good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Fair. If he's not, that could mean he's part of it. He is very enigmatic. That is a fair point. It's hard to say. Okay, we return. Who's gonna make a choice of what to do, what to say? Uh-huh. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no! Maomao, no! Okay, so this is how she learns that. Maomao, no! Oh my... Stop it, Maomao! Maomao, stop! Yeah, yeah. Oh my god. That is... That is fucking insane. Cutting him off, god damn it. Oh my god, she's trying her best to avoid. Maomao. Oh god, this is so much more silly than I thought it ever would be. Oh my god. How the fuck did it turn to this? Oh my god. Oh no. He wants to maintain that. Uh, Jinshi? Oh! Um, what the fuck? Jinshi? Oh my god. Oh fuck. It's not gonna go all the way, but... Okay, the dog stops him. Oh my god. What the fuck was that? What were you thinking, Jinshi? It's a good thing he had rope. Good place to start. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, yeah. You did. You did. God. Okay. Not the way I expected that to go. Oh. Trying to frame him as dead even though they don't have the body. Yeah, they're trying to frame it as he died naturally. Luckily, he's alive. So, at the very least, this guy is involved. Presumably. Wait a minute. I feel like I recognize them. Huh. Okay, full search party. But, there they are. Oh, okay, no, just the dog. Okay. Oh, wait, no. Oh, I'm dumb. Okay. This is all part of the plan. Interesting. Okay, I understand, I think, what's going on now. It took me a minute to fucking process who I was looking at. Okay. Alright. Framing it as arrows. Ah. Enabling a search of luggage without the explicit suspicion. Oh. Huh. Yeah. He's doing a good job of setting this up. I'm curious what the end result they're intending is. He keeps just being all smiles, god. Okay. Ah. Yeah. Oh, she already had it. Okay. Nice. So they got one of the guys. Mm-hmm. Black powder is a strong smell. Yeah, okay. That actually makes a lot of sense. 3. Alright. Yeah, it looks very European in design. Okay. Yeah. Good. Getting all that kind of confirmation. That shot presumably would draw people's attention if they're searching the forest, though. Yeah. Oh, so it actually had something written on it. Okay. Yeah. Ooh. Dramatic moment. Huh. Hmm. The relationship is in a weird spot now. Okay, he's gone over the entire thing. Interesting. Wow, okay, just shadow, like, got rid of them. Fair. Hmm. Oh, that's the story they are going with? Hmm. Okay, so he actually did? I thought both him and Jinshi were just pretending. Okay, so that's how they explain why he's like that. Fair. That. Yeah, huh. Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. He is fairly younger, so if the Emperor doesn't have a proper son soon, he would be the heir. No. Yes. Fair. Hmm. I like how much we're getting into this. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Okay, yeah. So she just calls it out that that was probably about them. Hmm. Okay. No, he has something to tell you, presumably. Oh. Okay, he's owning up to that. That's good. I guess they're in private enough of a spot that he can be without mask. Hmm. Mutual apologizing. Good start. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, fuck. No wonder she's so muted emotions wise. Hmm. It's a great detail to learn, actually. Oh, that I think is the exact encouragement he needed, even if she doesn't realize. Yeah. She does not understand. Hmm. Oh. Hmm. The slightest of touch. Okay. Oh no, she's gonna get distracted! Jinshi! Oh my god. She's so happy! Oh, Maomao, god damn it. God damn it. Jinshi, you fucked up. No one will come between us! Oh my god. Oh no. Oh my god! Maomao, what the fuck? Fuck. Hmm. Okay. The Moon Prince. Yeah. Okay. That's his real name. Kazuigetsu. And that's where they leave us. All right, this was much more of a hilarious episode than I thought it would ever be. So though a solid like half of this episode's runtime is spent on resolving the assassination attempt and catching the people responsible, it is far from the focus of the episode. We follow the plan that Jinshi and Maomao put together with Lihaku. As it unravels, not giving us the full details, I was a bit dumb when recognizing Lihaku in the moment, but it's fine. But it seems their plan was really based around using the dog's capacity to pinpoint who it would have been who was responsible for this, while also beginning the search for Jinshi to pressure them into making sure that the gun is not found. They do a little bit of a complication, a bit of a switcheroo, by making it seem like to everyone else that it was arrows that were used in this seeming assassination attempt, only to then use that as a cover when he shows up completely fine to make it that actually, no, nothing bad happened. He just sort of disappeared on his own whimsy for a while. Nobody's at fault. And also this one group just sort of disappears forever, which is wild. It's a way to keep it under wraps while also pressuring those responsible into revealing themselves. They used their limited tools at their disposal incredibly well, and it worked out perfectly as planned, it would seem. But now I would like to acknowledge the other half of the episode. For the long term, what is realistically the more important thing? Maomao learns something about Jinshi, it's just not what he wanted to tell her. And it is in the most insane way possible. She learns that Jinshi is not actually a eunuch. He is still, as she would put it, still a complete man. But she misinterprets why that is the case as, I guess, that he secretly somehow avoided becoming a eunuch and is pretending to be one, but if it was revealed that he was, that he would be severely punished, and now that she knows as well, she would similarly be punished in all likelihood. So she is doing her best to avoid learning that. Keep her head down, not get involved in any schemes. But she does not understand that the true reason is because he is actually the crown prince, the brother of the emperor, and until the emperor has a proper heir, he would be the heir to the throne, assuming he lives longer than his brother, who is notably older than him. Which, that fact actually being emphasized here is a good thing, I'd say, because it's something I did not fully process. The fact that, yes, if the emperor has a brother and no heirs of his own, of course the younger brother would be the next in the line to the throne, which places Jinshi at a place so much more important than even I realized. He's not just a member of the royal family, he is the current heir to the throne, the crown prince. But to return to Maomao's position in all of this, she, as I said, does everything in her power to avoid learning what she thinks is the big reveal. But Jinshi is actually trying to tell her who he is politically. But she isn't having it. She tries to bypass it as much as possible, resulting in some of their usual banter, but in the most extreme sense possible, teasing him, essentially saying he has a small dick, but probably due to a mix of his obvious feelings for Maomao and the constant teasing leads Jinshi to do something way too bold. If we're to be kind about the scenario, he's practically confessing his feelings. But if we want to be realistic about what's going on, due to his position, even if Maomao doesn't think he has as high a position as he does, she still understands that he is very influential, very important. So with that in mind, at least from Maomao's position, Jinshi is almost forcing himself on her here, which is complicated, it's weird, it's a bit awkward, but luckily it doesn't get that far. They get interrupted by the dog and Lee Haku finding them, cutting things off before they could go any farther, and then things move on from there. But obviously, as the episode goes on, we continue to sort of return to the awkwardness that is left after that interaction. Realistically speaking, both of them are at fault in very different ways. Jinshi is obviously at fault for nearly forcing himself upon her, but Maomao, from a political social class standpoint, is very much at fault for being so rude to someone as important as Jinshi. From a moral standpoint, one of those is a lot more important than the other, but you know, in this kind of society, they are realistically of equal measure. Not placing my own morality on that, just realistically in the society, that's probably the case. Which leads to, throughout the entire dismantling of the conspiracy, Jinshi clearly being annoyed and even angry with Maomao to a degree. And she can recognize that not only she was being rude, but actively avoiding him earnestly trying to tell her something. So by the time they finally are able to actually have a conversation, they both apologize for each other's actions, even if Maomao is still more in the dark than she thinks she is about what was going on. At which point, though, Maomao, largely unintentionally, because she says herself she's not good at this kind of thing, not recognizing people's emotions or how to treat people in vulnerable positions, she just says her honest feelings, which just so happened to be, in my mind, the perfect thing for her to tell Jinshi, based on what I was saying in the analysis of last episode, of why Jinshi is so afraid to tell her who he really is. In telling Jinshi that to Maomao, he will always just be Master Jinshi, no matter what, it's in all likelihood the biggest comfort she could have given him. Which clearly, at least in this moment, removes any of his true hesitation to say what he was wanting to say. He still is stumbling over his words to a degree as he does it, but he is earnestly and fully trying, with no real hesitancy after that point, to reveal who he is. It just so happens that he made the mistake of giving the reward he had promised to Maomao so long ago before he revealed who he is. If he had waited just a little bit, then it would have worked out a lot better. Because Maomao, as she says, is far more enamored with medicine and ingredients than anything or anyone else. Nothing will get between her and this ingredient, which results in no matter how much Jinshi bangs on the door, shouts through the door, there's no way that he's getting Maomao's attention again, which leaves us at only a minor status quo change. Maomao now knows that for whatever reason, Jinshi is not actually a eunuch, but has the wrong idea of why that is the case. She thinks that she, willingly or otherwise, is now in the know about a fairly big secret that could get both of them killed if it got out, not realizing the full extent of the why. Because in reality, for however long now, Jinshi has been in this false identity of Jinshi. In his true identity, he has hidden himself away behind a mask, claiming to have a burn scar, so that his face is not recognized in the rear palace or anywhere in the inner court. He has been inhabiting this role of a fairly influential and important nobleman who is in charge of the rear palace, when in reality, he is the crown prince, the moon prince, the younger brother of the emperor, Ka Zuigetsu, heir to the throne until the emperor has a proper heir. And we see that at this point, this dual identity scheme has begun to backfire. It has begun to cause problems for his true identity. There are important people who are showing no respect to the crown prince, who view him as lesser or undeserving of his position, which at a certain point, even if he unveils himself, reveals his current scheme, at a certain point, the damage to his reputation may be too much. Which leads, at the end of this episode, to Gaoshin recognizing Jinshi can't continue with this too much longer. This false identity will have to be tossed aside eventually. He will have to take his place as the crown prince sooner or later. So even if Maomao today did not learn who he really is, we are now on a timer for both how long it takes for Maomao to learn, as well as how long Jinshi can reasonably stay in his position. We have a clock. It's a very ambiguous one, but we have a clock counting down. Whether that will be at the end of the season, or later, or sooner, is to be seen. But with that, there are two other things I'd like to acknowledge about this episode. One is a very brief moment, but that I very much appreciate just from characterization standpoint, which is the tidbit we get about Maomao's childhood. The fact that though clearly she grew up in an environment of people who cared about her, she grew up surrounded by people who were busy constantly. They were hardworking women. They did not have the time to constantly make sure she was okay when she was a child, which resulted in her very quickly becoming essentially emotionally stunted. She, from a young age, learned not to cry because it wouldn't achieve anything. She naturally, subconsciously learned that her emotions wouldn't do her any good, which explains a lot about why she is the way she is in modern day, why she is so emotionally muted outside of her special interests of medicine and poisons, and I guess alcohol, and why she often struggles to read the room on an emotional level. She can intellectually and practically and logically decipher things incredibly well, but this seems to be the reason why that emotionally she sometimes has a disconnect, which I just appreciate. But then the final thing to mention is the sort of wrapping up of a lot of the threads in this cour, combining the details of the guns were designed seemingly in the West, with the fact that we recently had the envoys from the West, and finally Maomao just calling out the fact that the story Gaoshin had told her was in all likelihood, even if it was not entirely completely true, was likely about those two envoys. As though she has no true proof, she pieces together that it is entirely possible that the way those guns got into the country was through the envoys, which just continues to build upon this entire scheme, this entire conspiracy that is growing in the background. This question of where people are getting these things and learning how to make poisons, all of these are leading to something which potentially is a singular conspiracy, which then leads to the fact that this may very well be much bigger than any of us could have thought. So far, we have had 2 assassination attempts on the life of Jinshi, and it is entirely possible that they were planned by the same people. It is also possible that it is 2 separate conspiracies, 2 separate assassination attempts, but equally so it could be one grander one. I'm just excited to see where we go from here. The lore has been built up drastically this cour, and I'm looking forward to it being further built upon and expanded in the future as we continue to move forward in the story. But with that, I think I will leave things here. I think I covered everything pretty well, all things considered. So feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, leave a comment on your thoughts, and I hope you all have a great day. Goodbye!